Let's say that you're looking at some houses, you find one that you like, and you want to put down an offer. How can you make your offer so irresistible that the seller must take it? Well, there are a few key elements to doing this, as you can imagine. The first one is to make sure that you get pre approval first. You may be wondering, what does this even mean? Well, it means you want to go to a mortgage lender and you want to send them your financial documents so that they can say, okay, your documents look great. It looks like you make enough income so that you're able to afford this house. I'm going to go ahead and give you pre approval to buy the house. Once you get the pre approval letter, you can send it to the seller's agent. And this basically gives the seller's agent and the seller confidence that you're able to finance the house in order to purchase it. You might think that this doesn't make much of a difference, but it actually does. A big reason why I've been able to close on a majority of the properties that I put offers on is because I have this pre approval in hand and ready to go to include with my offer that I send them. Okay, now let's talk about how to price your actual offer. The number one thing you want to look at in determining what price point to offer for the property is the days on market, also known as DOM. Days on market is how many days was the property listed so far. The longer the property has been listed on the market without any offers being put on it, the more desperate and motivated the seller is to sell their property. Imagine if you put yourself in the seller's shoes. If your property's on the market for 3 months, you're starting to get nervous if it's ever going to sell. And the other thing is, when people see a property that's been on the market for 3 months, they automatically start assuming that there might be something wrong with that property, which can scare off a lot of buyers. As a general rule, if the property has been on the market for 30 days or longer, I usually ask for a pretty good discount on the property if there's no other offers on board already. Usually I'll ask for like a $10,000, $15,000, or even $20,000 discount. In fact, one time there was this property that was on the market for 90 days and I asked for a $100,000 discount and I ended up getting an $83,000 discount on it in the end, which was pretty crazy. Now, let's say the property has been only on the market for a couple days or a week or so. In that case, you have to ask yourself, okay, there might be other buyers out there. How can I make my offer competitive enough to get this deal? Usually what I do is I start with running comparables, also known as comps. You will want to talk to your realtor and ask them to run the comps, which are basically properties that are around the area that are very similar in size, number of bedrooms, condition as this property. And the idea is you want to compare the pricing of those properties in order to determine what's a reasonable price point to buy this one at. So you want to take into account the comps and the current market conditions when you make your offer. For example, if a property is being bought in the middle of winter, like during Christmas time, there's usually not a lot of other buyers out there during that time. So you probably can also get a discount on the property, even though the comps support a certain price point. At the end of the day, I usually ask my agent, hey, given the comps and the current market conditions, what do you think I really should come in at when I put an offer on this property? Now, the other variable is if there is a multiple offer situation where you have other buyers that put an offer on the same property that you're putting an offer on. In that case, usually you want to be paying around the asking price or close to it or above it. And a specific tactic that I like using is called an escalation clause. An escalation clause basically says whatever offers are on the property, I will pay their offer plus $1,000 or plus $3,000 all the way up until a certain price point. So for example, let's say I do an escalation clause starting at $300,000, escalating all the way up to $350,000. Well, that means let's say somebody puts an offer in for $330,000. My offer will go $1,000 above theirs to $331,000 automatically. And this can continue all the way up until my max, which is $350,000. Now, let's say they put an offer in for $355,000, then they get the property, and I don't feel like I have to overpay for that property. An escalation clause is great because it prevents you from having to overpay for a property, but it also allows you to beat out the other offers. Again, your offer is dependent on what price point the other offers are coming in at. Now, make sure you check your specific city guidelines to see if escalation clauses are allowed, because some cities might disallow it because they feel it's unfair for your competition. With that being said, I've successfully used an escalation clause to outcompete the other offers in many of the properties I purchased. Okay, now another way to make your offer irresistible to the seller is to be willing to pay more on the front end in order to make money back on the back end. And what I mean by this is be willing to put in a higher offer price, but then know that after you do your inspections, you're allowed to ask the seller to lower the price of the property or give you money back as seller credit if there are any repairs or flaws that you find on the house. And chances are you usually will find some flaws that you can use as leverage to ask for money back on the back end. Finally, if the seller is a really stubborn seller, what you can always do is, let's say you agree upon a price of $300,000, you can raise that price to $320,000 and then ask for that extra $20,000 to be given back to you as seller credit towards closing costs or as money that is going to be paid into escrow to pay your handyman to make those repairs. So at the end of the day, the seller still gets their $300,000. But what's nice is that you get to use that extra $20,000 towards repairs and you don't have to come out of pocket on that. Now, this method only works if the appraisal comes in at the final agreed upon price point. In our example, the appraisal has to price the property at $320,000 or more. Now that we talked about how to make your offer irresistible to the seller, let's go ahead and talk through some of the mistakes that a beginner investor will make when putting offers on properties. Now, the very first mistake that a lot of people make is getting too attached to the property. I did this myself, and my realtor taught me one of the most important lessons I've learned to date, which is you always have to be ready to walk away from a deal. Now, that doesn't mean you're going to walk away, but you have to be ready to walk away. It's kind of like if you ever had to haggle in a flea market where the seller says, hey, I want $50, and you come back and you're like, no, I can only pay $20. The seller's like, no, I can't do that, maybe 40. And you're like, no, $20 or I'm walking. And the seller's like, okay, $20, that's fine, I'll give it to you for $20. That's kind of the attitude that you need to be having when you put an offer on a property, because you have to have a mindset of abundance. If this deal falls through, there will always be another deal out there. And a lot of times that deal is much better even. I've actually put offers on properties and just like a month later, another one pops up that's even better and I regret putting an offer on that first property. So you have to realize that there's always going to be a better deal out there, and that helps you to be able to walk away from a deal if the seller becomes too stubborn about their terms or their price point or whatever. So make sure that you're not feeling needy or too desperate to get that deal. Don't worry, there will always be a better one out there. And who knows, if you're about to walk away from the deal, a lot of times I've had sellers that chase me down after I walk away. So you never know what's going to happen. Now, another mistake that beginner real estate investors make is not doing enough due diligence or enough inspections. You want to order as many necessary inspections as you can on the property. For example, if the home inspection says, hey, you should have somebody check out the HVAC, then you might have to order a follow-up HVAC inspection from a HVAC tech. Or let's say they say that there's something wrong with the roof, potentially, then you probably want to order a follow-up roof inspection. And one inspection that I recommend everyone order is always order a sewage lateral line inspection if the home is older than the 1980s. I can't tell you enough. I've probably had at least 50% of the properties that I was buying find something wrong on the sewage lateral line inspection. And typically when there's a break in that sewage line, it can cost you anywhere from a couple thousand up to even $10,000. So make sure you include at least that inspection as an add-on to the normal home inspection. Another add-on to the normal home inspection I always recommend is doing the pest inspection. Usually pest inspections will look for rats, termites, potentially even mold or fungus growth. So make sure you don't forget to order those, because those can also cost you a couple $1,000s. And if you find something wrong with the house on the inspections during the inspection period, you can go ahead and ask the seller to pay for those repairs, or to give you money towards closing costs. Closing costs are a fee that you're charged by the lender and the title company as a fee to finish purchasing your property. But what's great is you're allowed to have the seller pay for some or all of those closing costs, depending on the terms of your lender and specific purchase contract. Okay, now let's finish off with the biggest, most important piece of advice I can give you to make sure that you win on your offer. And that is to be first. This is a case where the early bird gets the worm. If I can make an offer on a property within a day of it popping up on the market, there's a very, very high likelihood that they just accept my offer instead of waiting a week or 2 weeks for other offers to come in. Because most times I'm pre-approved, the other realtor knows me as somebody who can close on properties because I've closed on plenty of properties before, and generally speaking, I have my stuff together. By putting your offer on within the first 24 to 48 hours, you're literally buying the property before others can see it, and therefore you prevent a potential bidding war with other buyers. This has always been the easiest and simplest way to guarantee success on your offer. And so what I do, practically speaking, is I go on Zillow every single day and I set up my criteria for what I'm looking for, and every day I take a look at the Zillow map for any new properties that pop up. As soon as it pops up, I usually put an offer on it within the first 24 hours or so. Make sure you set up an account with Zillow and check it every single day for houses that pop up, and really get your offer on those properties as soon as they pop up. Because it's on days that you least expect it when a deal will come your way. So make sure that you check in on Zillow every single day, even if you're feeling discouraged. Thank you so much for watching the video. And if you enjoyed it, please remember to like, subscribe, and share with your friends who are really struggling with getting started in real estate investing. And I'll see you on next week's video.